Welcome to my live stream. Bones McGolf here to help Jim get things started. Ha 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 ha. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers. This is the 11/2, actually November 2nd, version of What's in My Drawers golf discussion. And we're here at McGolf in the McGolf Fitting Room in Southern Ohio, where we're going to talk about golf equipment, golf repairs, golf fittings, golfy opinions, whatever you want to call it. Now, this got started because old club makers are traditionally very big-time pack rats, and that's what we started with. What was in my drawers? And since we've been doing this since the COVID, it's kind of grown, and we get to talk to people all over the map, and it's been a really good time. I think I'm glad everybody joins up and we get these healthy questions going out. So first and foremost, we got to give a shout out to Brian Gay. Brian Gay won I believe it was called the Bermuda Championship. He won with, he's not a monster hitter. He doesn't kill courses, but he certainly made his way around this one. He did very, very well. And in the Timber Tech, we get into the Champions Tour. A monster shout out to Derek Clark. How about that? Huh? The big man wins again. So it's all about that. I'm happy to see him win. I was watching a little bit of it, and I watched him. He lipped out a putt. It just went in, went out. It went in and went out, and it was for the lead, and just smiling the whole way. Just didn't even let it bother him that he was mashing the golf ball. So I figured it was probably going to go his way. Bernard Longer was struggling a little bit the last two holes. He didn't have it in the bag this time around, and so good to them. Good to them. Just to get it out of the way for most of you guys watching, hopefully tomorrow, if you haven't voted, go vote. That's about as political as this thing is ever going to get. So it's your right. It's your deal to go do. So go do it. And as in part of that, Old Glory at our house was tattered and worn, and Mrs. McGolf went and got us another one. So just minutes ago, we now have a new flag out front. Looks good. I think it looks really good. So hopefully that'll last us a few more years, and we should be good to go. Now, coming up, and what we have coming up in a video, it's a comparison on technology, right? Comparison on technology. So what I'm doing is, when I was cleaning out my drawers again, I came up against a hybrid that I used to carry, and it used to perform very, very well. And it got knocked out by this guy, all right, a long time ago. And I've had the Epics. The Epic is it's getting replaced. It's on its fourth year easily, and that was in the bag beforehand. So what I did is I put an Aldila RIP in it, the Aldila RIP in it, and it's a regular, but it plays to a stiff. The RIP was exactly what it was. This thing was a beastie shaft, and so going down one will help me out. And then I've got a recoil. This one came with a recoil, and I'm going to do a test, and we're going to basically see. I measured them all. They're so similar, it's not even funny. So we're going to see whether or not technology really makes a difference. So that's coming right along. We ought to see that. And as you guys ask, this last week for me has been a tremendous week with the school, basic club making. I've done probably 8 videos, and we talked about all the different heads, shafts, and grips. And I have to build a set of irons, so I'll show you everything that I do when I build a set of irons in the basic club making class, so that it overwhelms you. And we talk about the different things we're going to do it. I'm going to be using some, if you guys have ever used it, let me know. It's the Mitsubishi OTI new shaft. To me, it looks really cool. The way that it's profiled, the way that it's made, it looks really kind of nice. Hopefully it's going to work out pretty good. So we're going to go with that. So hopefully we get through a lot of these things. All righty, guys. So let's see what everybody else is up to out there. We got Matt first up. Matt shot a 74 in the rain and sleet. His kind of golf. You are correct. And his question from him, well, he always asks good ones. Will the Wilson Duo Professional compare to the Chrome Soft? The answer is yes. All right. The answer is yes. I was one of the testers. They just handed out boxes, not like I'm special, but we were able to hand out boxes, or they handed one to me and told me to go test. Well, I was in a foursome, and I gave each one of my partners a sleeve and just said, hit it. They said, what is it? Just said, don't care, just hit it. And told them, brand new golf ball. You just tell me what you think. And off the tee, I got 3, huh. And then the second shot, I got another, huh. And then I got a putt, and I was like, okay. And that was all I heard all the way around the course. And one guy was having driver difficulties. He was spraying it, which he can kind of do that. But all the rest of them, and they played, some of them played Chrome Softs, ERCs, Titleist. It was kind of a hodgepodge kind of mixture of folks. The guy that drives the ball, he plays and he might even play a vice ball, I guess. Anyway, they all like the way it drove. They all like the way it ironed. They all like the way it wedged, and they all like the way it putted. And the new ones came out, and I've got one they now have ones that don't have paint on them. They're basically naked. And I played that one, and it hit just fine. And except for the only downturn to it is that it keeps the dirt. The one would have never thought that to be that important, but paint, it allows it not to, you can wipe it off and it looks good decently. Well, without the paint, it takes the dirt, and it takes virtually a scrub brush to take it off. Not a big fan of that, but it putts well, it wedges well. Now, the idea of no paint was to create spin. All right, it created spin, and it did a little bit. And the drives, were they just as far? I think it might have been just a tad short, but it flew true. And I thought it was, but everything else it hit just fine. So yeah, I think they'll be able to play. I don't know what the cost is going to be, so there's a cost versus comparison thing going on, but certainly is something for something to choose if you have the option. See if you can't sneak a 2-ball out of some the clubhouse or whatever, and play it, because I guarantee you will like it. All righty, yeah. Well, get ready. Robin's not going to be here, so it'll just be you and I, and then I have a little something for you when you get down here. Brendan is back. He's in Ireland. All right. And what shafts would you recommend for Lynx folks currently playing KBS 90s and my XR Pros looking to change something to keep the ball out of the wind? Alrighty, so much like people ask me about XP95s, the KBS 90 is the same thing. It's a get the ball up in the air kind of shaft, okay? And that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to create a lot of, well, for lack of a better term, a whipping motion, although they would disagree with me, but that's the idea. And it gets the ball up in the air. So it's doing its job for you, okay? Now, the real question is, what do you need? Well, now, if you like the weight, or you think you can handle just a little bit of weight, something a little bit heavier, but will bring the ball way down, or it'll give you just a different feel so you can hit those penetrating shots, I would look at the KBS 105. All right. It is the profile of the flagship, which is their KBS Tour, is just lighter. And in this case, it's going to be, it's only 15 grams lighter. So it'll only be 2 swing weight points, maybe a swing weight point and a half change. And it will feel different. You'll be able to, if you can work the ball now, you'll be able to work the ball better. So I would see that. All right. Jack, what do you say, buddy? Checking in. I see my golf spy said that New Wilson got approval for conforming. You need to do a review. You are correct, sir, and I've seen it. I had my Wilson rep show up. I'm under embargo. I've took pictures of it, and the embargo is coming soon. I had a piece of paper but it's coming soon. And if you guys can look at what Oh, their big guy, their number one staffer right now that won. I'm just drawing a blank. Anyway, it looks a lot like his, right? It's not going to be exactly like his. It's going to be a bonded club, not an adjustable club. And it looks cool. It does. I've already put my order in. I've got I've got two driver heads right and left for my fitting system. Actually, I got all the lofts. I just ordered them all. It was just that cool. They're new. So in case somebody else asks me, the new D9 that's coming out in the irons is I don't know how they do it, but they keep making the irons look better. It's going to replace the D7. So we'll have a D9, a D7 forged, right? That, and then the V6 is being replaced by the professional, the Staffer Professional. Now, you guys have probably seen some of those on just kind of trickling them out on Twitter and on all the other places that they've let them go, and those look really nice too. So, from an iron perspective, be very ready to really see some good stuff coming out of the Wilson stable. It just looks so good, and they always have. They've had that tradition for sure, but John Pergonde has been the head of R&D for just a short period of time, and you're starting to see lots and lots of improvements coming on. Now, if we could just convince him to make an adjustable head, he would probably jump right in the middle of that race with all the rest of them. So good for him. Good for him. Iceman. Good evening, Jim from Wales. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Geez, oh, Pete. Travel and photography. That is something I would love to do. Our courses reopen a week from today and can't wait to take. Oh, can't wait. Yeah. As I understand it, you guys went in now, not necessarily Wales, but the rest of the place the rest of the UK went into lockdown. Is that true? And I hate that for you guys. I hope everybody's safe over there, but I hope you guys reopen, and I hope everybody can take it in there. But as I understand, you guys are starting to get cold, aren't you? And you guys are a tougher stock than I am. I can tell you that. Peter from Syracuse. There we go. We got the East Coast taken care of. Played Sunday, snow today, warm up, and yeah, dude, Peter, that's about what we had. It got down into the 30s here, and it was brutal. And but it didn't snow, and we had a lot of wind, and we had a little bit of rain. And by Wednesday, we're looking at upper 60s, and Thursday by 70. I am thinking I very well may have blue flu by that day, and in order to take Dad out and see what we can do and try and get out. There's Joe from Leeds. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for checking in. I know it's late. We had our time change, so you guys are probably right back to where we didn't accomplish much of anything but for a week. Scott from Michigan. Thank you, buddy. The Space Coast. All righty. We're getting it all checked in today. All right. What are your thoughts on the KBS Tour V shaft? I keep pulling my irons. So the Tour V is, I think, started out as a proprietary shaft for maybe Callaway and another OEM. And I believe it was because Mickelson may have had a little bit of input on what he wanted on a shaft. That being said, I don't think it's a bad shaft. It's one of those, it's always like there's not a bad shaft out there. It's just ill-fitted. Okay. So if you're pulling irons, there's a couple reasons why for that. And one could be the weight of the iron. You may not like a heavier iron. You may like a lighter iron, or it may not be heavy enough, but typically it goes the other way. The other one is it might be just a tad too long. Choke down a little bit and hit it and see what happens. And then the last bit is that maybe you have a head look that might have too much offset, or the lie angle might be there. However, if everything checks out and you're shutting them down, you might, just like I was telling Brendan, is that you might want to look at maybe just the regular tour, not the V tour. The Netherlands, thank you, sir. Are you guys able to even get out? I'm trying to get my head wrapped around the weather around the world. Willard, good job, man. Take that on. Jack, we got your tool out now that we found it. Here we go. After you spine on a steel shaft, where do you index the spine in relation to the club face when installing? Okay. So when we spine the shaft, what? Go see Mom. My dog's here talking to me. Go. So when we spine the shaft, let's just use this as a reference. Let's just use there we go. So there's the spine. So when you pull it down and you make your mark, there's the line. Okay, so now we've got it tight. So that's on top. This is how I would put it in there. Straight up and down. Hope that helps. So if this is at 12 o'clock, the face will be at 12 o'clock, or as much as you can. And then you start hunting for the spine. I put everything at 12 o'clock, face, the toe sticks straight up. There we go. Whoop, oh, a little too far. A little too far. We got a lot. Here we go. There's Lorinda. Hopefully your packages show up, ma'am. There's a lot coming. You're going to have a lot of fun with that, I guarantee you. All right, how would you fit someone for length with irons? Toe strikes go longer, heel strikes go shorter. Well, James, and good first name, by the way. What I do when I fit someone for length, I have a series of clubs over here. They're all the same head, same shaft, same grip, same flex, same everything except for length. And what I do is I get the golfer warmed up, and then based on the height, I'm going to take a calculated estimate since I've been doing it for a while. And we're going to take 2 to 3 shafts, and I'm going to put impact tape, or 2 or 3 lengths. I'm going to put impact tape on it. And then I'm going to have you hit 3 shots apiece. And then what we're going to look for is the tightest pattern that you can make. All right. And the one that's typically the tightest is the most consistent, and it is also the longest, and that's how I do it. Let me show you here real quick. Right there. All those irons right there. That's for lefties, for righties, and for ladies. Okay, so I can put this back and be even somewhere close. There we go. Not bad. So that's how I fit for length. And then once you get the right length, then we go for a lie angle. And just so we can keep the conversation going, people will say, well, what about graphite? Length is length, man. Length is length. All righty. What determines when you change clubs, balls? For me? Well, and if my buddy from Scotland ever goes up there, Fittich 15 this time around, not 12. What determines? Well, everybody has good days and bad days, and when you have a bad day, is probably not the time to want to change, because typically it's not the club's fault. However, if you've had a medical issue that's preventing you from making the same kind of swings that you've had, for me, so I have access to a lot of stuff, and I'm on staff with Callaway. Okay. And when they come through, I have the option of getting new if I want new. This year, I kept the hybrids, I kept the wedges, I kept a putter, the irons I got, but I didn't put them in play because they ended up having too much offset. And you guys saw the video of the one that I made, so so I kept that one. So the driver's in play, and the hybrids. So and for me, it's what I like looking down upon, and it takes, like in hybrids, it takes a while. Driver, I'll keep a couple years and then we'll switch out, because typically the technology doesn't change for me, sees an improvement for me perspective in doing that. Okay. Changing balls, if I'm out on the course and I hit one into the trees or hit one off the road and it's got rash, probably I'll change it then. Honestly, I've never really had an opportunity. I've left. Well, at one time I was a Bridgestone guy and I went to Callaway, and it was because I saw market improvement when I changed it. And so that's when I changed golf balls as a whole. Now as far as condition was on the course. As far as clubs, it'd have to be I've either worn one out or there's a technological advance or something's happened that would give me an advantage. San Jose. All right. Well done, man. I'm glad the knee surgery's the replacements did well, and that you're going through therapy, right? Therapy is long for the rapey, or a therapist is long for the rapist. Keep that in mind when you go back. So the son called on Halloween with the grandson, so they put our picture behind a cardboard door, and we were FaceTiming them, and they were pretending like the kids were opening doors, and they would trick or treat. So that was kind of neat. That was unique for them. Good thing technology is what it is. All right. Travis wants to know who's watching from Jersey. Who's the pick for the Masters? Well, in my heart of hearts, I'd like to see Mickelson do it. Unfortunately, he may have saved up enough energy to get through it. However, I think it's going to be somebody new. There's enough young guns out there that they'll try and do it. The other one is, it was the beginning of his end there. I'd really like to see Jordan Spieth conquer that place again and just get his game back and get his mojo happening. But again, I still think it's going to be you're going to see a new face at the top. We're seeing a lot of that this time around. And I saw there was a young man that was he got some sponsors exemptions, and you have to be on a money list to a certain extent. I wish I could remember his name. It's kind of an off name, and he's been in finishing in the top 5, 6, that kind of stuff, and he's just not afraid. He's just not afraid. I wouldn't doubt if even he could come around and win it right now. James, another good first name. A good price for a replacement driver shaft. Now, James, that's truly a personal preference, to be sure, because you're depending on how deep your wallet is. Now, as I would say, some of the best shafts to be found are probably in that $250 to $3.25 range. Those are some of there's all kinds of styles, profiles, weights, manufacturers in that particular range. You would find excellent replacement shafts in that $250 to $350 range. And it just depends on what it is you're looking for and who can put it in for you. But that's where I would find it. How difficult would it be to save brand new mid-sized multi-compound using pressurized solvent gun like you use in your videos? Well, if they haven't been on there for very long, it shouldn't be that bad, because it's the ones that have been on there for a while that can really cause you a problem. So it shouldn't be real bad. Last time I did it, I got them all but one. So I wouldn't say it would be too bad. Just don't try and squirt when you go to do it. The mistake a lot of people make when they use that gun is they try and just until it fills all the way up and squirts out. you can literally overstretch a grip when you do that. So you want to squirt it out there. You'll see it blow up, and then you'll see it creep down the shaft. You might have to give it a couple more squirts, just creep down the shaft. A couple more squirts, creep down the shaft, and until it gets out, and then you can twist it off. But don't try and blow it off all at the same time. Here's my man Paul. Based on technology, well, Paul, we were just talking about that as far as making sure that it fits you, right? So going back a little bit, before the age of computer, it used to be you could go 8 to 10 years almost before you saw a significant technological advance in irons. And it would be somewhere around, it'd be 8 to 10, 6 to 8 in a driver. Now, the reason being is because it took so long to create one. And it was the difference between mailing stuff back and forth, right, and testing back and forth, last minute tweaks back and forth, or flying over there and making all that happen. Now, with the advent of CAD, the advent of 3D printing, the advent of being able to mill and test, all that stuff, those time frames have gotten shorter, right? So the driver is down to about every 3 to 4 years. Now I'm talking about a technological move for each individual person. Now every year they say we got this new technology and to make it better, and true, but you got to measure it, right? And a lot of times that increase it will be an increase, but is it worth it? And so maybe you can skip a year and get to it. Now, in irons, it went from 10 years to about 4 years, right? 4-ish years. And we're starting to see, you're starting to see stuff like multiple compounds, multiple pieces, different materials being used to make them feel softer, make them go further. All kinds of stuff is out there, and everybody's trying to outdo the next company. So, irons, you could probably go I'd go about 4. We'll just put a number on 4 years, and the driver about every 3, maybe. Now it's gotten smaller. Okay. Russ. Well done, sir. Thank you. 4 handicap. That's awesome. Okay, so you made it to 4-iron length. So the drive iron's short, and that's the reason why it's C4.5. Okay. And as a whole, if you just think about it, for every swing weight point, it's about 2 grams. So you're going to need about 12 grams. And that's just to get you to the bottom end. That's a lot of weight, dude. If you throw it down all into the hosel area, you won't have any problems closing the club. We'll put it that way. James, there we go. 5-iron is D3, 4-iron is D2, 7-iron is D5. How do I add loose swing weight to my 4 and 7-iron? Not going to mention the brand. Thank you so very much. So James, number one is, if I know you're measuring and everything, but if you were to pick it up and you didn't know, would you have noticed that? You may have seen the one that may have been a little heavier, but would you have really have noticed maybe the D5 in comparison to the 4-iron? Most folks can't really detect a 2 swing weight change. 2 to 3 actually. 3 on the up, it depends on the person. But it depends on which one you like, right? And so if you're going to lose weight, you can either trick the scale and put some weight in the butt, which I don't recommend, because then you change the dynamic of the club, or you grind it, which I don't know if I'd recommend that one either, because now you take away from the cosmetic appearance of the club. But you don't have to take off a whole lot, so you might be able to do something like that. Adding adding swing weight, you can either use lead tape. It is unsightly depending on where you want it to go, but it is the easiest way to get where you need to be. The other one is you can always tear them apart and put in a tip weight depending on where you want to do. Some other guys will say just put it down the shaft and put a cork in there. And yes, you can do that. And if you haven't done it before, it's not as easy as it sounds. So I would go with the first two because they're the easiest. Now, the other thing you might consider is if you like the D5 and that's the heaviest, you very well may just keep adding weight. And you add weight until you get to that particular point, and then they're all the same. Then you have to worry about losing any. Just depends on which one you want to get to. General opinion that the iron shaft that is too soft will go high and left, and an iron shaft that is too stiff will go low and right. Okay, so we need to make first thing we need to know is if we think we're right-handed, a too soft of a shaft high into the inside. Let's do that. And one that's too stiff, typically low and away. Okay. Now you can be high and away and low and the other way too, depending on how you attack the ball. All right, Warren Slick. I use an Odyssey double wide flow putter. It's a good putter. Sometimes I take the putter back, it wobbles like a drunken sailor. And I would know about that, by the way. Would a putter with wings help like an Odyssey stroke number 7? Actually, if you have the stroke, if you don't have the stroke lab, right? If you don't have the stroke lab, then look up Balance Certified Weights, or Golf Works would have one that's a tour balance, I think is what they call them. It's a tour balance. And add weight to the handle. You'd be surprised what that'll do for you. All right. And then just see. Now, if the flow putter means that it wants to really open. Okay, so if you're more straight back and straight forward, right, the straight back and straight forward, then yeah, a Model 7, a regular Model 7, not a flow neck 7, a regular 7 will help you stabilize. And the way that they're going right now with the Stroke Lab shaft on it, it would be massively stable. So yeah. Hey, we got somebody on Facebook. And yeah, we got Rick or RJ. We have all kinds of folks that come up from West Virginia. In fact, we had one here this last weekend. Actually, it was from Virginia and came up. And but we have a lot of folks that come up from around the Greenbrier, and then that other really nice golf course, Glade Springs. They come up from that area. Good folks too. Woodland, that's correct, sir. Thank you. Gary Woodland, the D9. That was he's talking about earlier on. We were trying to figure out there. So he was testing out the D9, and he was hitting it pretty good. I don't know if it's still in play. I haven't seen him for a while, but yeah, he was hitting it pretty good. Now, the difference between there will be some differences between what you get on the shelf versus what he had, but shape-wise and the look-wise will be very, very similar. There's my man from Sweden. How you doing, sir? Is your recovery coming well? Okay, so 84 mile an hour on TrackMan with an irons. That's pretty much middle of the. You could say middle of the regular range, right? So, and if you're pulling the ball, I'd have to see. So if your swing path is outside in and you're squaring the club to outside in, basically you're shutting it on the way down, then we would have to work on a few things. Number one, I would start worrying about, again, shaft weight for you, right? I'd worry about shaft weight and see if we couldn't make it start going outward. And if you make it go outward, then you will have to do that. Another one is maybe a club with low offset, and that might help you out as well. And it could be something as simple as ball placement. You might have the ball too far forward. So those are all things I would look at during a fitting. Yep. Nice. Thank you, sir. Delaware. Man, that's a new one. New state on the board. I ought to do that. I've got one out here where I send all the stuff. We got to get it for where all the people are calling in from. That'd be cool. Joe, sir, what do we got? Where's the best place to add lead tape on a driver to add distance? My buddy wants me to do it for him on his 3-wood too. Best place to add distance? Well, it depends. There's the best answer in golf is it depends. If you're looking to you're just looking to lower a little spin, so when it hits and it rolls, particularly in Lynx golf, you want to take it and you're going to want to put it along the forward edge going forward. That's going to knock a lot of spin off, and it's going to keep the ball down, and it's going to send it out. That's where I would go. Now, if he's just looking because he likes the weight and he actually hits the ball straight, I would just go straight across the middle right here, just for nothing more than just a little bit of weight. Don't add too much because you can go overboard with that stuff. All right. Always had trouble with 460 drivers. You better believe it. Do you have a smaller head driver that might be more controllable? Let's think about that for a moment. I'm going through my mind. Callaway used to have one. There's like that Franken driver or whatever they had. It was more 3-woodish, but it was they called them Thrivers, is what you were talking about. And they were short and they were small, and people hit the crap out of them. Wishon has a Thriver that you look at. Wilson doesn't have a smaller one. Mizuno doesn't have a smaller one. I'm trying to think if anybody would have a smaller one. Now, there is one, I will say this, Wishon does have a smaller looking head, okay? Now, what you can do is the 460cc heads that you see, particularly, and TaylorMade was pretty much the best at elongating these things, where you elongate it, and you might see it in Titleist now. And Titleist might be something to look at. Anyway, they make it, and it gets into this kind of almost diamond shape in the back, right? And what that did is that made the face get thin. What you need is a tall face driver. And then when that tall face driver goes up, you got to make room for that volume you just created, so the back end gets smaller. So when you look down on it, that the footprint looks smaller. And that's a lot of what we get away with when those guys. Let me check one more thing. Yeah, this one's not too bad. I have no information on it because it's new to me. Here's a tick like that. That's not real big. That's a new Wishon. It's the 519, and it's a shot shaper. It's more for a players. So that might be something to try. But look for either a tall face driver or something in the way of a Thriver, and that's where you could look for there. There you go. But my peak height has gone bye-bye with 5 or 6 meters. Well, there's always going to be, that's probably the attack. But if you're hitting them well and you really get them out there, you can take off a little bit of height. 5 or 6 meters isn't going to be too bad. Bruce is going to be playing on Friday. Well, it's going to be, if it's here in this area, Bruce, I'm telling you, it's going to be nice. Kevin, hey. Wales is on lockdown for 2 weeks. Did it in Wales before the rest of the company. Yes, it's damn cold. Okay. Well, more power to you, man. More power to you. Do you take a lot of golf photography, or is it just travel photography? Stephen Forster. Thank you, sir, for Wakefield, UK. Nice. Thank you guys so much. I know almost nothing when it comes to the location of a lot of the cities or towns or villages in the UK, other than the lady that actually taught me a few things was in Cheltenham, and I always ask if your guys are any relation to that. So if you're close, let me know. Oh, we got Texas. There we go, Texas. Now we got the north and the south, and we got the east. Now we got the west at San Jose. We got all the points of the compass, plus over in the UK and Sweden. So we are hitting it good. All right, James. Any thought on the Jumbo Max Ultralight longevity? I was just installed a medium on my driver and was playing twice a week when the knee allows. I don't know, but Jumbo Max isn't known to wear out really, really fast. The new coating that they put on, the new wrap that they put on, in my opinion, is 10 times better than the original. And it tends to wear, I think it tends to wear better. I'd have to ask Robin if she can hear me, the of whether or not anybody's bringing Jumbo Max back to us. And but we've put on bunches of sets, but I haven't, honestly, I've not seen one come back. So there must be a pretty good wear factor on them. With weather warming up and football being done, now I'll probably be on the course all week. Well, good for you. Get on there, Benjamin. What? Oh, well, Miss McGolf just rolled in and said nobody's brought any back, so good for us. Melbourne, Australia. Woo! Wow. We're starting to come out of lockdown. Good. I'm all about being safe, but come on. There's a give and take in everything. And I'm glad you guys are safe. I'm glad nobody is getting anything, but by golly, let's get out and golf. Here we go. Is there a graphite shaft that can hit different flight windows? Currently using Elevate 95 and can't hit it low. I was looking at the Project X Catalyst, considering graphite due to elbow surgery upcoming. Well, okay, so elbow surgery and going to graphite. Graphite is a tremendous shock absorber, and I would recommend that highly. Now, the catalyst is comes in what within the Callaway group. It's 65, 75, 55, 65, 75. Out in the aftermarket, it'll come out as high as 80. Okay, they go into zeros like 70, 80. It could be because, again, this might be too light. I do like the catalyst. And the catalyst and the Elevate are very, very similar in their approach to hitting the ball. It could be that it's just a little bit light. So if you were looking at and the catalyst shaft will bring it down, and they have an 80, I would certainly give it a try. I would just honestly, if you're doing it, I would just do one and just see what happens. And if you like it, then you can go and do all the rest. Okay. Full lockdown from Thursday, so that'll be it for golf. Guys, I feel your pain. All right. The Mini Pro. Can you discuss the pro and cons of adding link to a golf club? Okay. So add link to a golf club. We add link to a golf club. Why? Because we have to. Because it makes you hit a better shot. Because you swing it better. Your stance is better. It takes stress off your back. All the different things that go with a proper length of a club. What happens when you extend the length? If you do it properly, you very well may see it come down a little bit in flex, but we're talking within the same flex range. So it'll be pretty much imperceivable, right? Or unperceivable, imperceivable. You won't be able to tell. And so that's a good thing. The swing weight will go up by a couple of points, and so you'll have a slightly heavier club, right? Because it'll feel heavier. It will be heavier because you added some length, but it'll feel heavier on the head. And really, that's about the end of it. That and it not may not necessarily the pro and the con to it. Either one of those could be pros or cons, depending on whether or not it fits you or not, or whether or not you need that to happen or not. So there are some people that need to add the length and everything that goes with it. Oh, and then you'll have to adjust the lie angle a little bit as well in order to go with it. So that's where I would look at that. There's Dave. Currently gaming Ping 1s with stock CFS steel shafts. What kind of same steel shafts? CFS. Oh, those. I would look at AMTs. All right, I would look at the AMTs, and not the brutish tough one, but the one that's in the middle. I think that's the red. It's either the white or the red. The black, I believe, is the really brutish one, and then the white or the red are the other two way around. But I would look at the AMTs. Joshua from Rockford, Illinois. All right. Actually, my first job out of high school, I helped my uncles build a metal building in Rockford, Illinois, and that's where Eric is from, Mr. Club Connects. So there's a lot happening in Rockford, Illinois, and my dad actually worked there for, I think it was Alcoa Tool and Screw, Alcoa Tool and Screw. Anyway, that was fun. All righty, just bought a Hogan Hybrid. Okay. It outperforms any hybrid I've ever known. It is too good to be true, or Hogan's good quality clubs? If so, why do we not hear more about them? Well, I'm glad that the hybrid is working for you, Joshua, and that's good. Hogan has, when Hogan first started out, that was all they were known for, is high quality stuff. Now, they've been bought and sold a couple of times, and they've kind of lost that lackluster. Now, in this last purchase and business remodeling, they're doing a lot of internet sales. In fact, that's all it is internet sales that I'm aware of. And so you're not going to see a lot of marketing prowess from these people. You probably won't see anybody on tour playing them, and that's where a lot of the real marketing comes from, right? When you see somebody with a Hogan hat or a bag or something along that lines, they get a lot of TV time when they're doing well or even poorly, and so that you're just probably not going to see that yet. As they get their feet more underneath of them, they get more stable and they get more recognition. It probably get there, but for right now, there it is. As a lower spinning ball go offline as a lower spinning ball? Very interested to hear your opinion on this. TXG says a higher spinning ball will stay more in play than a lower spinning ball. I would say that with the guys at TXG, that kind of went against convention, honestly. So if everything's considering, if the spin axis, we'll use my golf ball right here. All right. So if the spin axis was straight up and down, I don't think it would matter, right? Convention would also tell you that when the axis tilts one way or to another, that now the spinning is that revolution spins like that, and as you spin it harder, will maybe want to spin out of control more, right? However, where the lower spinning ball doesn't want to take you out that way, that seems to be the convention of it, and that's what most people tend to say. Hence the reason why you like your now. Does that mean so? What we're talking about is the actual performance of the golf ball. Now, when you hit it, or I hit it, or anybody hits it, we want it to spin lower. You know, you always say hit it high, spin it low. That's how you max out the ball, or max out the drive. Now, staying on line, the convention would say that the higher spinning ball would take it offline. That would be convention. I don't know what they did to promote that or not, but it would seem just, I don't know. I would have to see what they did in order to see where they came up with that conclusion. But if you're, and it's like I always relate it to throwing a curveball, right? The higher and further out, you got to throw it out here. You throw a higher spinning ball, it tends to curve more and comes in. Where if you throw it and you're hitting a curve, it's all about the curve. And and the more that you spin it, the more that it'll want to drop. So I don't know where they're getting that one. Tommy Fleetwood's a good pick. He's coming around. So Travis, in the Epic Flash, they do have different weights, right? If they have weights in them, you can get different weights in them. I don't believe that Callaway themselves sells the weights, but I do believe Golfwork has an aftermarket product. Northern Ireland, there we go. Man, we are all over it. What are your top 3 tools or pieces of equipment when starting out club building, club repairing? Well, thank you, sir, for asking, Mark. So let's premise this answer with a few statements. Number 1, the first most bestest the best tool is a good working surface. Okay, a good bench. If you don't have a good bench, it's hard to have to use good tools. So a good solid bench, right? That's number 1, and that will preface that. The second one is mounting a good solid vise on that bench, right? Once you have those, the world's your oyster. All right. Now, after that, what would I do after that? Now that I got everything solid and everything there. Personally, I would look at a shaft, something that would cut a shaft, something that would braid a shaft, and then I would look at something. That's the dirty side. And then I would look at something in the way of a really, really good ruler, something that's there. So you got to measure what you're cutting. You've got to be able to put it together. Now, this builds on. You go, well, what about flex? Well, that would be another tool, but top 3. You got to be able to cut them. You got to be able to assemble them. You've got to be able to and make them go. But I've always been about making speed. Can you braid the shaft? Yes. By hand? Yes. Can you cut the shaft by hand? Yes, but not nearly as neat. My cutting days are done like that. And then the measuring to length. Length, in my opinion, is critical, and the rest of it will follow. You can follow trim instructions and get very, very close if you're just getting started, right? However, if flex is more important to you than say, braiding a shaft, then instead of a belt sander of sorts, then maybe a frequency machine. It just depends on where you're at. Now, why the vise? Because for $3, you can buy a rubber clamp and put it in there, and you can grip to your heart's content. If you had a shaft puller, you can mount it in that vise and do your shaft pulling to your heart's content and still save space. You can make the shaft or the vise hold all kinds of things, your project and your tools, and it's just one at a time. But I would think, it's right off the cuff. Normally I get a little bit of each, so I'm still down with that. The ruler and something to abrade it, because you can change out belts and finish ferrules and that kind of stuff. And then the other one would be to cut shafts, whether it be steel or graphite, just for the precision after I did all the other stuff. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I would. Would you shorten steel shaft simply with a hacksaw whilst in the process of changing grips and measuring carefully? I would not use a. I'd be real careful on the hacksaw. I wouldn't have a problem using a hacksaw, but would have to have a rod saw blade. Okay, a rod saw blade, and then yeah, I'd cut it to your heart's content as long as you could do it very well. Yeah. The rod saw blade, I used to have one. I did it on cutting shafts. If you go to the video on how to cut a golf shaft, there's a rod saw, and it's made to fit in between the hacksaw frame, and it's basically a hand version of a cutting wheel, and it makes short work of it. However, cleaner and easier, honestly, is a tubing cutter, and you can buy the small ones and the big ones, and they don't cost hardly a thing, and it's way easier on the body. Is there a trick to finding the spine? Some like I would more than others. So, Willard, the thing is, if you spin it around and you just can't find the spine, that's a good thing. That means you have a good shaft, right? And so you're just looking for the place that offers you the most resistance. When you find that place that's the most resistance, make a line, and then when you go to flowing, you'll be able to synchronize that in, right? Because spining is the right church, flowing is the right pew. Got set for Hogan's, okay. But with Project X, LZs, the LZs is nice. Isn't an option for Hogan Direct. Going to install them myself as the shaft sensor was 1,000. All right. I don't know where you get the PTX Pros from, though. I don't know if they would sell you the heads. And that could be the reason why. If he can get the heads, maybe Hogan has gone to selling some heads out there. That would be interesting to see. Now, I will say this: the Hogan, one of our business model requirements is if we want to bring on a company, they have to make something left-handed. It doesn't have to be everything, at least something. And for right now, as I understand it, Hogan doesn't make the first thing left-handed, so they won't make it in here until that time frame. Darren's here, Los Angeles, California. Darren, thanks for coming up there, buddy. All right. Why did even flow brew driver shaft not do as well as the black and the red? Picked up the Big Bertha effort, and it's beastly. And I don't know why. The even flow blue just never took off. I don't know if it's a 3 minutes. Oh, I got 3 minute warning, guys. We're getting close. I don't know. I think what it might have been a little bit loose at the bottom for some folks. I thought it was a good driver shaft. It didn't fit me very much, but it was a monster in the Rogue. I thought it worked very, very well in the Rogue. And the funny part is because the black is just the opposite end and the red they're just on both sides of the shaft. So I'm with you, man. So Darren, that's a good question. The Maverick, so the B21 driver is for a golfer that slices, right? They tell you that in the marketing stuff, and that's just what that one does. Now, Maverick has the Maverick Max, which does the same thing. Is made for that. I hit the Max and I spun the Max less than I did the Callaway B21. I really, really like the look and the performance of the club. It just spun a little bit more for me. And that's what it is. And they both did their job. I mean, I hit to the inside quite a bit. So what it really comes down to is if you're not a huge spinner of the ball, you could probably get away with either one. As far as looks, my personal preferences, I like the blue. And I would go with the B21. If you're, however, because they both have the same amount of technology in it, and the same ideals. I think there's just maybe a little bit more in the B21 than there is the Maverick, but not by much. Cameron, you got a question? Okay. Good. These are the Hogan clubs. I just wondered how those worked out. I just really wondered how that worked out for you. Those are they were pretty stout clubs. They're gorgeous, but they're pretty stout. Okay, guys, let's see. I like the angle of attack, but I think you're doing fine. I use a cutting wheel. It's called a same thing you would find. It's a what's the name of it? It's this thing that you would find on a regular grinder. It's just instead of being a 1/4 inch wide, it's an 1/8 inch wide. Jonathan Scott from Virginia. Thank you, sir. We just had a guy in there from Virginia. Hit it pretty good. No PGA show. You are correct. Well, hope it will happen 22. So do I. And so did I. We were on a roll. I think we got up to like 18 years or something like that in a row. I was looking to do it. I'm really wondering to see what this virtual thing is going to be. I'm not sure how they're going to pull this one off, and I really hope it doesn't destroy the PGA show. You know, everybody was talking about how it wasn't well attended. I liked it. I liked because there was always that the new place where you could find all these new people hungry to get into the industry, wanting to show their stuff off and that kind of stuff, and then finding out and then talking to some old friends from Florida. Just started playing at 58 years old. Is it me or is it the driver? Well, Mark, in a couple of cases, it could be both. All right. The top flight. So top flight clubs, I would say, are middle tier at best type clubs, and I would put their construction in doubt. However, so when it goes way out like that, if it goes out straight and then just does a hard right or a hard left for that matter, a hard right, what that is that your face and your path are competing with one another, and that could be a couple of things: weight, length, and flex. So here's what I'd do is I'd choke down a full-on inch on that guy and do it all the way around the course and see if whether or not that helps. And if you have just started, I will do your best bet right this very minute. If you have just started playing, go find somebody reputable and go get a lesson. Let them help you out, get the basics down, and then go out and have a ton of fun. And hoorah, Navy. All right, guys, I'm 3 minutes over. I got to get 2 more down here, and then we'll be done. Recently played Myrtle Beach, Caledonia, True Blue. I love that one. TPC. Prestwick is very nice, too. Bermuda grass is so tough to get through. Any tips for turf interaction, Bermuda grass? Well, right now, it might be dormant, isn't it? It's getting cold enough. Is it dormant yet? And getting through, and it is tough getting through that stuff. You know, the thing is, if you have from really sharp leading sharp clubs, it's going to be hard anyway. In reality, what I would do, I would try and stand taller to the ball. Right? Just stand taller to the ball so you hit it a little cleaner and take less of a divot. I know it sounds simplistic, but that's the way it goes. All right, heads up from PA. Well done, buddy. Thank you. Just reinstall a triaxon. Okay. I'm glad you like it. Hopefully that works out and that you like it. There we go, Doug. Northeast Scotland. I was wondering where Phil was at. Normally he's my Scotland connection. You are now in. All right. All right, guys, let me get one here. We got Queensland, Australia. Thank you, sir. Greg, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting in here. That's awesome. We got Utah. All right. And there we go. We got it all. All right, guys. I only went 5 minutes over, which is normally pretty good for me. Again, hopefully I'll have a video out. It'll either be Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll be talking about that. Keep an eye out for the video, and let me know what you think. And I've got some clubs I've got to build, so I got to get to that. And as you know, guys all over the world today, that has been phenomenal. I really, really, really appreciate it. And again, if you guys, take a look at this, like and subscribe on this guy. And if you haven't done so, subscribe and tell your friends. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low. Jim wanted me to say thank you for joining the live stream. Come back next Monday so we can have more equipment golf discussions. Bones make golf, and thank you.